Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, rock and roll prophetess, with another channeled message from the Transmissions for Humanity. This one is from book 2, another starship or star lineage heritage, starseed heritage video. I saw somebody else talking about leprechauns, and I'm like, man, I have that leprechaun story. I think I'm going to tell it. Um, so I'm going to read what I wrote. It starts out with me asking about this particular instance at one of the stadium shows. And if you don't remember the stadium shows from like the late 70s, I was a young teenager and they would have them every year. They called them the World Series of Rock. And if you see down here, there's no assigned seating. There wasn't. And the stadium itself held like 80,000. It's been demolished and they built a new one, but it held like 80,000 people. And I believe that's just seating. And then, it was a crazy scene. And I mentioned here about how if you look down here, I think this must be the stage up here where this white thing is, or maybe it's over here. But there were times if you went down on the field, there was no assigned seating. Everybody was just standing. And then when the music started, people would just rush the stage. And there was times when you were just in a sea of sweaty bodies and your feet would even leave the ground, from all the people pushing forward. It was, I even mentioned here, and I don't do any, by the way, I don't do any drugs. I don't even drink now, but I did back then. And I was doing LSD. We would trip on acid every time we went there. So side note, there was some hallucinogenic drugs involved, but so this is just to get the idea of what the stadium looked like back then. Oh, and here's another one. Well, here's a better one in color. Yeah, so over here's the stage, and that's the sound booth. And these people, we would just be mashed up against the stage up front. I went every year. We never missed one. Well, there was like several every year, and I don't remember specifically which one it was, but in this mass sea of people. Now, when this happened, we weren't right up in the very front of the stage by the stage getting mashed up, but we were on the floor, on the ground, on the field. I was pretty far back, if you can see where my hand is, probably standing back around here somewhere. But through this huge sea of people, I see this guy. Okay, so I'm going to start reading what I wrote here. So that was it. I was tripping on acid and I looked out across the sea of people, and from across the field of 80,000, I locked eyes with this guy. There was a charge of energy, and I couldn't look away for what seemed like quite a long time. For some strange reason, maybe because of the LSD, I thought he was a leprechaun, and he would be forever known after that as Leprechaun Dude. And I asked them, I go, what was that all about? And they said it was an energetic frequency match that forged the connection through the vast expanse. And yes, the ingestion of the substance anchored in the locking of the corresponding particles. So I said, well, so was he tripping too? And they said, yes, the exact same type from the exact same source was ingested, because we would just buy it down. That's so great. Kids at home, don't ever do this. But we didn't, we were young and we didn't know where to get drugs. So we were just walking. People were like, oh, we got orange sunshine, this and that. Well, we'll take some. I think they were like $2 or $3 a hit back then. But anyways, don't do that. That's crazy. And they said, yes, the same exact type from the same source was ingested. And I said, probably a lot of people were tripping that day, LOL. And then they say, there is much more, as he was indeed a soulmate as well. Though not intimately involved in this life, you are so on the soul plane. You recognized each other from that dimensional reality. It was a nod as if to say, I see you, I'm here too. Not only at the music festival, but in the earthly incarnation as well. Yeah, that was so trippy. I mean, it was across this, you can't see my finger pointing. It was across this hall, these people, and we were just staring at each other and smiling. It was like, I mean, if anybody's out there's ever done acid, that's kind of how it goes. But anyways, so then I say, well, what about the leprechaun part? And they say a remnant from another realm. The both of you have particles of resonance with the leprechaun heritage, both in your soul path and genetic constitution. Wow, that was trippy. And I say, so we have incarnated as leprechauns and have descended from them as well? And they say, yes, on both counts. And then I say, well, tell me more about the leprechauns. And they say, the leprechauns, as they are known, once inhabited your earth plane in great numbers, a tribe of ancient man from your perspective. There was a great concentration of them residing as what is now known as your British Isles. The name leprechaun was bestowed upon them by the ones who followed. The leprechauns would indeed perform what would seem to be a magic from your current frame of reference, but it was not unique to that group. There were other tribes, and it was fairly commonplace in that time space. Then I said, well, what about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and the other mythologies surrounding them? And they say the leprechauns were quite skilled at manipulating fractal energy frequencies. The manipulation of the field would produce spectrums of light similar to what you deem as a rainbow. This would occur when traveling through dimensional portals into other realms. The end of the rainbow was a doorway where they could come and go freely. And I'm like, well, what happened to them? And they say, as the earth plane became more dense, they came and went more frequently until it became difficult to maintain any sort of existence in the 3D reality, except for short distances of time, which is why they would seem to appear and disappear to the humans that followed. And then I said, well, you said that I have a genetic material as well. So they were able to mate with 3D humans, I was asking, and they say, to some extent, yes. But the genetic material has been manipulated as well. All of the creatures of your Earth have been genetically altered, as has already been discussed. Yeah, they say that a lot. So what genetic particles, as you put it, do I have in my physical makeup? And they say the ability to perceive light and many other subtle things that are beyond your current understanding. And then I say, can you explain a little bit more about the ability to perceive light? And they say, what you would call seeing auras. And I've seen auras since I was a kid, and other things, basically to see into other dimensions. Okay, then I say, you also mentioned my soul path. So I have lived among them in other incarnations? And they say, yes, most certainly. It is customary for higher dimensional beings to incarnate into such planes of existence before plunging fully into a 3D human incarnation. And then I said, I want to know more about the leprechauns and where they came from. And they say the leprechauns, like many other biological creatures, came to your earth path to establish colonies and cultivate minerals and other natural resources. And I said, well, where do they come from? And they say, a lush green planet outside your solar system. When the Galactic Federation opened up your Earth for colonization, biologic creatures came from far and wide to volunteer to take up residence and cultivate this planet. And I'm like, well, how did they get here? And they say, through the portals of time, creatures of similar biological resonance that could exist in the Earth's 3D environment came forth. Some would require physiological upgrades for maximum performance. And then I say, so they were okay with it, altering their DNA? And they say DNA and other things within the human vessel, yes, this is a common practice throughout the cosmos and not feared or repelled on any level. So we get all freaked out about that, but they say over and over again, this is just how things are done and always have been done, right? And then they say, I go, well, where do they come from and how did it differ from Earth? They came from a lush green planet outside of your solar system. They brought plant and animal specimens that were thought would thrive in this new environment. Your planet at that time space was not that different from the planet that they came from. Things the Earthwalkers of your time might deem miraculous were commonplace on Earth in their dimensional reality. And then I say, well, I guess I'm asking, how is their life different from the humans of my time? And they say, yes, you are living in a very dense environment comparatively. That is why so many of you are here now, to collectively aid in the diffusing the cloak of heaviness that has come into being in your present reality. Let's read that again. Diffusing the cloak of heaviness that has come into being in your present reality. So, we came here to kind of recapture maybe some of the vibes from that time frame of the leprechaun dude. Yeah, it was so weird. He didn't look anything like a leprechaun. I remember he had kind of long blonde hair and a ponytail. But through that vast sea of people, we just locked eyes. And I guess maybe because it was the altered state of consciousness, I don't know. But so then, I asked the guides, and it turns out there was real leprechauns, and they actually did live on Earth and even seed Earth. And I thought that was really interesting that they were just manipulating fractals that would appear to be, I was gonna say leprechaun-ish, but rainbow-ish, to be like a rainbow. So that's where that whole mythology came from. So pretty interesting. As I said, I saw another video with somebody who was channeling leprechauns or something, so I thought I would break that out and share it with you all today. There'll be more to come with this galactic heritage because there's more in the books, and I've been doing paintings too. So hope you like these videos. I'm going to continue to share them, and thanks for tuning in. We'll talk again soon. Bye.